Okay, so welcome to GamesCast number 30. We got the GamesCast number right this week. I think I went backwards a week last
Always
week.
a positive.
Yeah, so we're from the University of Huddersfield. We're still in our home offices. I'm Ash, and we're joined with Daryl.
I am.
And we've got Matt as well. So what are we going to look at before what's in the box? What is this week's stuff?
This week's topic is actually not a topic we're having a discussion about. We're just going to show off some student work. So the final years this year are doing intense modules. So their modules are only lasting 6 weeks. And so they finished one of their modules now. They finished their advanced 3D. They submitted, got the grades back. And so we're going to have a look at a nice selection of the work that have been submitted.
Looking forward to seeing them. So let's start with what's on the box. So what everybody turns up for. Let's roll the intro for that.
We've got the intro ready.
Yeah, with sound.
What you can say? You tell me. The box, who's in the box? Oh, what's in the box? What's in the box?
I definitely think that's a Christmas project for you again, Matt. Over break.
Well, I just, for every time there's a person on screen, just put a Christmas hat on them instead.
No, I meant just replace it with a better intro. It gets worse every time I see it.
The problem is that Matt likes it.
I like the randomness of it. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's what we like about you as well, Matt.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know what's on the box is, it's just a quick little game we play every sort of GamesCast stream. We each take it in turns and we give you a description on what's on the back of a box we've chosen. You've got about 30 seconds to try and guess what it is, and then chat can play along as well. I'm not very good at this. All my boxes always get picked or sort of found out straight away, which is a little bit annoying. But I'll go first. This one is a different one, so it'll be interesting to see how many get it.
If it's the same as last week, so we've got a problem.
Yeah. So the revolution is over, but a secret war inside still rages. A war of control between the machines, exiles, and the people of Zion. Continue the storyline and decide who to oppose and what to believe.
Is this a Matrix thing?
That's the Matrix. Enter the Matrix.
Okay, I'm done. You're on the right tracks. It's not quite.
Really?
Yeah.
There's only 2 Matrix games. One of them is the Enter the Matrix, and the other one is the MMO one. So I'm guessing it's the Matrix Online.
It is, yeah. It's the Matrix Online.
There's only 2 Matrix games.
I think Machines, Exiles, and Zion gave it away. But yeah, really good game.
They did.
Yeah, it did. I didn't really listen to any of the other bits other than People of Zion.
I remember buying it when it came out and got 30 days for free. Really enjoyed it. And then you had to have a MasterCard to get a subscription. So I think I went about 5-6 months before because my mum didn't have a card. So she finally signed up for one. And then they cancelled it. They just stopped and took the servers offline.
That's quite funny that they pulled the plug on the Matrix. That's kind of ironic.
So no one was jacked in at the time. Okay, Daryl's box next.
Okay, fewer chosen, fewer succeed. Journey now to an island world surrealistically tinged with mystery, where every vibrant rock, scrap of paper, and sound may hold vital clues to your unraveling a chilling tale of intrigue and injustice that defies all boundaries of time and space. Only your wits and imagination will serve to stay the course and unlock the ancient betrayal of ages past.
That could be anything.
It's not Elite, is it?
Is that Mist?
God, no.
Ooh.
Damn!
I got it. Hey, first guess.
See, I was thinking Journey, but I was close.
Yeah.
I really thought that was too woolly.
No, it was just island with a mystery. I was like, well, there's only one major game that has a mystery island, and it's Mist.
I even spell MYST in mystery. Wait, never mind. That's how it's spelled. Moving on, Matt's box.
He's a university lecturer, you know.
It just
No.
looks weird seeing half the word.
Oh
That's all.
dear, dear.
Okay, so mine is Step into the Dark. As Carrington Institute's most promising new agent, Joanna Dark must uncover the truth behind the Data9 Corporation's recent technological breakthroughs which could have serious consequences for mankind.
Perfect Dark Zero. Have I finally got one?
He's gone silent.
I mean, he said Agent Dark, so like it was pretty obvious.
You're not quite. No, you're not quite there.
No, it's a Perfect Dark, not Perfect Dark Zero. There's one on the Game Boy, isn't there?
No, it's just Perfect Dark, the first one.
Oh, so I've not played. I played the 360 one. Never really enjoyed it.
That was a little bit quick this week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we do it again? Let's start again.
that was really quick.
That's probably a good thing given how many slides we've got coming up.
That is true.
And chat
So yeah,
all of them apart from Daryl's, but I think Matt was too quick to get Daryl's. So yeah.
So there we go. We need to go harder next week. That's what that says.
I'll pick a game no one's ever heard of.
So we'll pass. Seeing as this is Daryl's module, we'll pass over to Daryl.
Oh, me! I get to say things. Hello. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. I'll start at the beginning. It was
right back.
Obviously we had that memo that we were going to go moving to block teaching, and we were thinking of sort of 12-week blocks initially. And when Matt and I got talking about the fact that someone was about to have a baby, it seemed logical to experiment with even shorter blocks. So Matt didn't have to do his teaching right from the beginning of the semester, and we moved to a 6-week block process. And I was a bit worried about it, I've got to say. It was a bit scary. It's a lot not to do in a very short space of time, but it did give people the opportunity to sort of really put all their efforts into one project and emulate what they would do in industry. I mean, what you do in industry is rinse and repeat on a daily basis and try to get the assets cranked out. So yeah, it was exciting. It was fast paced. I think at the beginning of the module, a couple of the students were finding that pacing difficult to handle, and then once they sort of realized what was going on, it flowed really, really well. I think we were fortunate that almost nobody ended up taking any time off sick. I think if that had happened, we might have had serious issues. Attendance was really, really good throughout, and more importantly for me, I guess, I really like the sort of like the feedback you get from seeing people, and virtually everybody in the group had cameras on every single week, so it ran really, really well. And I think the results that we got out of the module speak for themselves to some degree. I was rather hoping that Matt would be here to discuss these things as we progress.
Oh, he'll be back.
I'm sure he will eventually. Yeah.
So, did they have any other modules alongside, or is it?
So we just finally a project, and obviously that's kind of just sort of getting started with that. So they're sort of devising what they're going to research into, sort of begin sort of like patching together a document that contains the starts of the literature review, think about what they're going to produce. So they really didn't have anything on a day-to-day basis to concentrate on apart from advanced 3D right at the very beginning. And by the time we got to the end of it, we extended their deadline a little bit. We gave them about 8 weeks in total to submit the work. And obviously the one of the other issues that we had to face was, on paper, the study and review week, the reading week, whatever you want to call it, the week off that people never get, was scheduled for week 6, the final week the module was meant to run. So obviously I just felt that was wrong, and decided to put on extra sessions during that week. And Teams has been invaluable. I mean, that whole thing of being able to sort of do Teams chats, ring people to discuss things, sort of have them send work to me to sort of crit and get give them feedback on a week by week basis was just great.
So you sort of emulated industry in a sense of workload, but not only that, you emulated industry in how you've communicated. Jumping on Teams, having that discussion quick back to back, and
absolutely. Yeah. I think, again, as I said, the results really do speak for themselves. The thing is that we now have to decide what we're going to do next year. My gut instinct is that this has worked so well that we should just do this every year. That's kind of contentious because I don't think anyone, when they were envisaging block teaching, really thought we'd move to a 6-week block. I think there was just this idea that everything would be either 12 or 24 weeks, depending on the size of the module. So I think 6 weeks came as a bit of a shock to some of our managers initially, but it's worked.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy to continue doing it. I'm not sure it would work in any other years. I don't think any of the second year, and certainly not the first year modules, will really benefit from 6 weeks. But I guess
I think it's a good stepping stone. It gets them ready for that industry approach, working 9 till 5 on one piece. And like you said, you're worried about illnesses, but again, if you're sick in a job, you've still got to catch up as well. So I know there's always that balance, and you've got to give them that sort of breathing room. But it sounds very close to just being sort of industry standard, sort of being emulated.
I think there's only if I can think about a downside, there's probably just only really one downside to the process, and that is the fact, of course, that people progress. I mean, I've seen immense progression. It's really odd to watch, actually, sort of like the starting point. They only have sort of 8 weeks, but 2 months really to produce a portfolio piece, and where they started out from and where they ended up dramatically different. The progress that they made from a sort of a learning and skill set perspective during that short period was remarkable. But obviously, as they progress through final year, then they're going to have that repeated with Matt's Advanced Visual Design, which is ongoing at the moment. They're going to go into team projects and learn a huge amount more about how to collaborate with others and work to a very defined art style. So there's tons more stuff that they're going to learn throughout this academic year. I think that for me, though, that really, I think that sort of like stands in good stead. If you think about it, the process of the final year is 6 months. It's not a full year. We keep defining it as an academic year, but an academic year is half a year.
Yeah.
They will have made so much progress in this 6 months that I have a very strong feeling that the vast majority of the people that we're about to see work from here, which is a lot of the year group, I stand a very good chance of getting work in industry in the very near future. Now, obviously, we already know that 2 of our students in final year already have roles in industry, so that's not something we have to worry about for those 2. But for the rest of them, I can see that it's going to be a fairly easy task to help them polish the portfolios and find that first sort of like foot in the door.
Yeah, I think the
Matt's clearly vanished, so I was going to wait for him to come back, but I can only waffle for so long. So let's switch to the next slide.
Yeah, just really quickly though, I think the timings as well. Yours and then Matt's and then team project. I think it really sort of polishes them and makes their skills grow, ready for team project.
Oh, absolutely.
And with all the opportunities to take that game away at the end and all the transfuser stuff and all the bits and networking, having something as polished as you can from team project, I think is a good thing to have, especially if you're looking to do look into job roles. So yeah, let's go and have a look at some of this work you've been bigging up. So Chris Rhodes first. It's very nice.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful piece of work. One of the peculiarities with Chris was that he preempted the module, so he got virtually all of this completed before the module began. I have a few sort of like minor issues with it, and I've sent all the feedback out to the students today. So if you are a final year student, you took Advanced 3D, there is video feedback for each of you that is up on Brightspace right now. But Chris's feedback largely was, this is a terrific piece of work using some completely relevant technologies and processes. The minor things that I think possibly could have been tweaked there's quite a lot. What are you doing there?
This annoys me. I know it's obviously it's modular piece and but seeing those straight away, yeah, if you're in the environment, you're not going to notice it. But from a portfolio piece, it shows off your skill set, I suppose, of using modularity, but it just draws my eyes in and annoys me. And the lighting on the foliage, but other than that, it's beautiful.
It was more, yeah, but you're not seeing it at this resolution. It's when you see the full resolution version of this, you notice that the sort of grain in it is too sharp. I don't think you'll get it to read on a stream. But the grain punches in the sand and in the rocks in too sharp a manner, and could have just done with just that dialing down. I believe it's a post-process effect, But I think it's been overdone. The other thing is scale. In the concept imagery for this, there were people on camelback and a palm tree in the scene that really sort of demonstrated the overall scale of those imposing statues. And to my mind, that it's difficult to read the scale of something unless you have something in that scene that you already know the size of. So I understand that producing things on camelback is not great, not an easy thing to do. A palm tree, though, that's fairly straightforward and doable, and I probably would go back and just incorporate that into the scene. It also, I think that the palm tree and the concept actually balance the scene a little bit.
Yeah, it breaks up that symmetry, doesn't it? And adds some sort of asymmetry and visual interest. So before we get too far ahead, what is the brief? Are they allowed to create their own brief, or?
Yeah. I mean, the quickest and simplest way to describe what I asked them to do in final year is find me a piece of concept art, and let's see if building that to a AAA standard is going to be enough work to satisfy the outcomes of a 20 credit module. That in a nutshell is the super duper condensed brief version of it. The main reason I do that is that over the years I've found that the majority of our students, because they don't study concept art and don't practice that craft throughout the first couple of years of the course, are not particularly great concept artists. So you end up with quite simplistic concepts if they develop their own. Whereas there are thousands of people out there on ArtStation and similar sites that have spent many years perfecting the art of the art of creating concept art. There we go. There's a terrible sentence, but there we go. But yeah, there's some amazing work out there that people have spent the time drawing and iterated upon, and they put that out there. But I think a lot of the time they put it out there probably with the express intent that someone would eventually make their concept into a full realized 3D scene, but that would seldom happen. So, I say to the students, find a piece of concept work that usually find a few. Let's have a discussion about which ones sort of like have got the most merits. Choose one we think is really strong. Contact the person who developed the concept in the first place and ask if they'll let you do that. I don't think I've ever had anyone turn around and reject yet, because they're really quite chuffed, aren't they? Can you imagine what it's like? You put something out there on the internet, someone gets to touch it. Can I make that in 3D? Yeah, of course you can. Do it right now. I want to see what it looks like. So it's kind of a win-win, and the outcomes speak for themselves. I mean, most of these pieces that you're about to see, I think there's only maybe sort of like 2 or 3 that are not based upon other people's concepts, and it just works as a process. And ultimately, that is again going back to what you said about what happens in industry. You don't develop your own concepts in industry for the most part. If you're working in a large studio, there will be concept work that you have to follow. There'll be an art style for the game that's pre sort of defined. There'll be specific things that you have to create, and you'll be told what to do and how to do it, and off you go and you make it. So in many ways, what we do is a craft skill rather than a strictly art skill, but that's where the employment is. That is the role in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think the time spent on not creating concept to then go make, and actually looking at concepts, analyzing it, breaking it down in sort of technical and approaches that you could do to make it is a better time spent as well.
Again, because obviously we were working on such a sort of condensed time frame, I had a meeting with the students prior to the module running, so I managed to grab all of them during the in Freshers Week and say, look, this is the score. Anybody that had asked the question over the summer, I'd already had conversations with anyway, so several of them, I mean, Chris is an obvious example, several of them had understood exactly what the process was and just gone ahead and done it anyway. So they were really ready to hit the ground running when we came around to the first week.
Cool. So let's move on.
I am back now, so I can look at some of these pieces and join in.
I'll let you take over. I'm already exhausted.
I ran away because I was waiting for a delivery. So it arrived. I now have one. Yay. I joined the club.
And it's a disc version too.
I just did a Gromit. What Gromit? Wallace impression. I was like, cracking toast.
Yeah, so I've now joined the club of next gen. And, play all those. By
the time you get around to play anything with last gen.
Oh, chat's livened up now. They've seen that.
Where did people get that? They go.
All this next gen work we're showing, and they liven up for the next gen console.
So
Yeah, so
to discuss Lauren's work. This was this was one of those projects that started off with a really solid concept, solid art style, and then there was this process that we went through where, again, as I said, short period of time, not many weeks, but the amount of iterations that I went through with Lauren was just crazy. We were sort of like, communicating via Teams 2-3 times a week. Me doing sort of like paint overs and sketch overs of things, just say I feel that this, if you push it in this direction it would look better, and to her credit, she listened, and took that on board every single step of the way, polished and polished and polished. There is still, to this day, little things. I would have, again, published the feedback earlier, little things that I would want to change about this, minor sort of texture details that I would want to fix. There's something about the sort of sculptural quality of the hair that I would want to probably want to soften a tiny amount, but overall this is a terrific piece of work. What have you highlighted there, Ash? What are you
So just a couple of bits.
I can see some polygons. Is that?
No, just the can being hidden here, I think adds to quite a nice sort of diorama silhouette. So just move it out slightly. I know you're probably going to spin around and stuff, but if you're taking an image of that angle, show it off so it adds to that silhouette. I think when you're on about texturing, I think the floor looks a little flat and everything else looks quite exciting. So maybe remove that base and get something with a good shape. And then because it's really nice, sort of bulky, stylized, the little bits on the airplane are really nice, but I'd like to see them a bit bigger and fit with the style a bit more. But other than that, I love it. I think it's really nice, sort of saturated piece, really good sculpting, good texturing quality.
Yeah. Just getting that final push on the skin texture, just getting it to glow a little bit more. It was a bit flat to start off with, so just adding that, and the eyes as well. I mean, we sort of like quite a few passes on the eyes just to get sort of like personality to shine through the eyes. And I think that's worked out really well as well.
Yeah, I like the attention to detail as well. The bits on the floor, the sort of graffiti on the desk. It's a nice piece.
It is.
Lighting's probably a little bit too harsh. Maybe giving some quite sharp shadows. I think if you softened it, I think it'd look cool. That's my feedback. Would look cool if softened shadows.
I just think it's if you go to the video next, she's done a really nice breakdown in a video of the process as well, which I think it's just a really nice character, really well put together, and they should be proud of that. I think as we've just put at the top of each page a link to that student's art station. So if you wanted to go and have a look at a bit more depth, you can do. Just follow the link.
I've just seen in chat, did the diorama in a day to sort of present it, so I had to rush that a bit. That's fine, it makes sense. I think just before you put it on your portfolio, maybe just do a quick sort of brush over on the base of it.
Yeah, well, my criticism I gave back in the video feedback was it was just too low poly. You got all this sort of really nice high poly work across the scene, and then you make it a low poly base. Why? I mean, why do that? It's just there's quite a few pieces that have got that.
Quite funny, from one shot to the next, and the base went from low poly to high poly. That's really weird. But I do like the fact that she's posed it as well, like in different, like you can see that she's stress tested it with different expressions, different poses.
That's great.
There's a full facial rig there, or a semi-facial rig at least.
Something going on. I'm not quite sure it's a facial rig, but there's definitely something going on.
She's at least doing morph targets within that, so there's some really nice work there.
I think the video as well is really nice at showcasing all the work. Different poses, like you said, different dioramas as well, particularly if we go back here. That's interesting.
That's my favourite. That's my favourite pose by a long way.
It's good.
The cushion could do with a little bit of extra work, but yeah.
I really like the little bunny backpack in the first diorama, just hanging off the table.
Yeah, it's just attention to detail, isn't it? And it helps that silhouette. It fits with the style, the themes, texture just as well as the rest. It's good. Cool. Shall we move on to the next?
Yep.
It's got Adam.
Yeah, Adams was a journey. It definitely was. And actually, one of the pieces that I didn't quite grasp the complexities of, I've got to be honest, when we first started trying to create this, Adam had got as his original concept kind of an 18th sort of like maybe sort of like 19th century hallway with traditional furniture and traditional wooden staircase, and said, well, like this is the layout that I want to use, but what I'm going to do is look at, I can't remember the name of the game, I've forgotten.
Outer Worlds was the game that it was based off.
So take that art style, take all the sort of like the influence from that game, but actually utilize this as the sort of the framework for what I'm going to build. And I kind of got that to some degree, but his actual vision wasn't what I imagined it to be. And again, we sort of went, round the houses, looking at the art style of the actual game itself and trying to marry what he was creating to those things. And again, to his credit, what he started out with lots of scale issues, lots of sort of like basic texture issues. The modeling wasn't as accurate as it could have been. The use of materials wasn't accurate. There was the lighting issues. All of this stuff, we started out and we sort of iterated and iterated and iterated. And again, just to say it, I'm going to try not to say it for every single piece, but 8 weeks of that process led to this piece of work, which ticks all of the boxes. It'd be no surprise for him to see with the grade that he got at the back end of it, but it certainly went way beyond what I expected to see as the sort of like final iteration on that, because it would be nice to actually sort of like say this is how it started out. This was sort of like week 2, 3, 4, and 5, but this is superb, and this model in particular is so well created. The high poly to low poly bake. The low poly object, again, you can't see it there particularly, but you can sort of see it in the maps to some degree. The low poly object is seriously low poly. He's refined it to the point where you couldn't take any more polys out of it, but the bake works so well that it still retains that high poly quality feel. So yeah, just a great piece of work all around. And really the polish came from sort of like the final push on the lighting and the post-processing. The post-processing really made it. It just sorted all the problems with the lights out. The proof of it is there to see on screen. It is really a terrific piece of work.
Yeah. I like the. Go on.
I was going to say it's great because it actually matches that Outer Worlds sort of aesthetic really well. Yeah. And I think one thing I'm trying to stress in my module for Advanced Phys is that importance of, as you were saying, it's 8 weeks worth of work from start to finish. That initial idea generation to finding the concept to finishing the full piece. Is that when you see student work go on a portfolio at the end of the year, they've graduated, you get a lot of employers will go, well, how long did that take you? Was that all year? Did that take you literally all year to make? Whereas our students go, no, this was 8 weeks worth of work. This was, and they can literally put a timestamp on it.
Yeah,
which I think is really.
You're out collecting your PlayStation, but Ash and I just discussed that they're going to improve. This is the first 8 weeks. Yours is the second 8 weeks, and then what they're going to produce in sort of like this station and finally a team project is anyone's guess, because they've now got the skill set down. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. It's that idea of iteration, that idea of sort of doing multiple passes on the first piece, and then they're going to move on to the next piece and then do multiple passes on that. And as they keep improving, that's going to get better and better. And it's actually one thing I was saying to the other week to a few of them was this work that you submitted now isn't the end. Is that you can go back from that feedback of the final grade. Yes, it's the end in terms of your assessment for that module, but it's not the end for the portfolio piece. You could go back, take some of these critiques, fine tune it a little bit more, present it in a really nice way for your portfolio. So it's not this is it. This is how you have to present it. You can do that last little tweak up to it.
There's quite a few going to be coming up where that's clearly we're going to be repeating that mantra. I've said on the feedback videos again. I just keep saying they've just been released, so they're not. I keep looking to see who's watched the feedback videos because the people are sort of kind of watching them right now. But a lot of those just say this isn't complete, but I know that the three of us would be more than happy to give them feedback as they're sort of like progressing with that work and trying to polish it for their final portfolios. Another thing that's just popped into my head is the fact that obviously with the way that we're structuring the year this year, normally they wouldn't really know what each other's skill sets were and how polished those skill sets are. But now going into team project, when they're trying to sort of figure out who's going to take that lead role for sort of like driving the artwork, they've got something to sort of show off and say, well, this is where I'm at. I probably should have that role. So it's also quite an interesting sort of outcome from the way that we've changed things this year.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off Matt, like I know it's super exciting when you've done it and you want to get it on your portfolio, but I find it's always best to don't do that straight away. Take a week away, come back to it with sort of fresh eyes, and just tweak and polish those little bits, like Matt was saying, and then sort of get some more feedback and then pop it on your portfolio.
Yeah.
It's always exciting because it's done and let's get it out there, but.
Well, the nice thing about portfolios is that they're organically change over time. So you can just put it up on there, get feedback, like instant feedback, send it around to people, because that's the easiest way to send it for other people to look at. But then there's no harm in re-uploading different images, swapping those images out for new ones, things like that. So
that's true.
Yeah. A portfolio should be organic. It should be flexible enough to change. The one thing that right now you've got it paused on the perfect shot is those blood splatters make no sense.
That was
for a decal.
Some of my feedback as well is the decals need a little bit of work. It's quite clearly repeated, which is fine, but they don't really tell the story. So there's some on the other wall and just sort of very clean tiles and then one decal in the middle. So it'd be nice to sort of clean them up and the blood splatter as well.
And that cracked decal goes behind the poster frame as well, which is quite so if there's a big crack on the wall, then the poster should be cracked and
bit of stretching as well. And something else, two other little bits that really caught my attention, and just tiny little bits, see if I can find the shot, is when you're panning away from the stairs, you can see where you've not quite connected your module pieces together correctly, just over here with the flickering. And then it might be nice to just have this sort of flapping a little bit. So use the UE4 sort of NVIDIA cloth simulator. Just paint those vertex a little bit and just have it sort of flopping down a little bit. I think that just those little details add so much to the scene. It's very nice.
As soon as you notice that you've repeated that cracked decal, you see it all over the shot.
Yeah. And it's sort of, you probably want a couple of tiles in there just slightly cracked, different variations of damage. And
you can overlay different decals as well to sort of break that sort of crack. So you can reuse them, but then put them in different orientations, overlay them, sort of give different effects.
Yeah. Cool. Let's got Melissa next. I really like this piece. I kept spinning it around in Marmoset, the viewer, and every time I did, something new sort of came up with all this sort of attention to detail. The mug, coffee stains inside it, coffee stains on the sort of anvil. It's tipping over. The character as well, the more you spin around the character, you see little bits of detail where he's sort of repaired his clothing. It's on backwards as well, so to use it as sort of a, one of those things that people have for bacon. I forgot what they're called.
An apron.
An apron, that's it. He's used it as sort of backwards for an apron.
She's actually written that into the documentation as well, so obviously you've not seen that. So yeah, it's good that you noticed that. That's exactly what she said.
Yeah.
So
I've not seen the document. I just saw the spinny marmoset viewer.
Yeah. No, I think for me, what this brought this to life is the facial expressions and the posing. I'd sort of seen the character. I think the only real issue that I had with this entire project is that it was kind of retrofitted. The character was designed almost sort of like completed before the art style for the game that we were supposed to tie to was decided upon, which is a little bit back to front for the way this is supposed to work. So that's fine as far as it's not the ideal process, but it kind of worked out. The only thing for me, and I know you guys love this, I really, really like it. I don't like the eyes though. There's something about the tiny little irises and the tiny pupils that kind of throws me off, particularly with sort of like the very stark whites of the eye. So they just I think if it had slightly different eyes, I would totally love this piece, but it is just that little thing that makes me it just throws me off a little bit. It makes me just go, I'm not sure. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's a very easy fix. So that maybe just if you just sort of like have a comparison one or the other, we'd know instantly which was better. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a gorgeous piece. And one of the other criticisms, not criticisms, but suggestions that I've made is just if you go back to that slide before, Ash, just the glow off the metal. It would be lovely if that really was the light source for that. So there was more of sort of a warm glow sort of been spread from that. There's a hint of it in that render, but I really feel that would benefit hugely if we were seeing that, and maybe sort of like throughout the scene, and maybe if there was like a brazier with, she was actually getting the warmth of lighting from a brazier as well in that scene, might just like, it's just like warm up all of the scene, and improve the sort of like quality of the lighting, and also impart more information from a visual storytelling perspective. So just little things like that. It's not going to take very much time at all to re-render these. Not that Melissa has to worry because she's already got a job, so it's kind of irrelevant.
Cool. So look at the video.
I just really like the stylization of it. So this is one of those that was based on her own concept, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that she's got this crazy stylization, the extreme proportions, and actually managed to get it to work, is a testament to both the concept and the final product.
Yeah, things with Melissa, she's one of the very few of our students that is a talented concept artist as well. So I had absolutely no problem with her creating her own concept.
Yeah.
So clean as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, just even that, just the beard alone. I've just noticed the little bow in the beard. I never noticed that on the first pass.
Yeah, so I mean, every time you look at it, different bits coming up, like the tools on the back as well. They're all sort of slightly, very, very small details, but just slightly rotated, so in on themselves, like it should be. Yeah.
One of the things that I think worked really well. This is it's tough. It's tough to do. It looks easy, but it's actually really difficult. That's the smudging of soot on the skin. That isn't easy. There's no easy process for that. There isn't a soot on skin sort of plug-in for sort of substance. You actually have to get your hands dirty doing that. There we go. There's a pun for you.
Yeah. I like how it's just like it's gone into the cracks of the eye as well. So it's like it's spread a little bit on the hands as well, just spreading up the fingers,
the beard as well.
Actually, you can see there's more soot on the front of the jacket, and especially on the aprons where he's obviously like rubbing his hands on it. She's like telling little micro stories throughout it.
Yeah, it's terrific.
And like you say, Daryl, the transition, because soft and hard transitions are really hard to get right in texturing.
They are.
So it's nice to see it's done well. Yeah. And just like the splodgy sort of heavier bits as well that come into it. It's all good. Cool. It's nice.
It is. It's very nice.
I can tell what it is.
We can instantly tell what it is. Yeah.
You tell what it is yet?
Yeah. I mean, this I've got to admit, when Brad first sort of said that he wanted to do this, I was like, okay, yeah, do it. I'd had no idea where it was going to go. I don't think he did. If we're going to be perfectly honest about it, there was, we was creating something. It was kind of, it became a dynamic project, sort of like analysing what happened across all three of the films. Sort of taking influence from each of them, but it wasn't until the back end of the project that again organically, sort of like the additional work came out of it, and that is, it's a lighting project. It's an environment in which stories get told, as it is in the movies. But these are game renders. This is the barking mad part, really, isn't it? I'm old enough to remember when most of our students will be old enough to remember when Toy Story first came out, but I distinctly remember being blown away when Toy Story was a thing. But actually, Toy Story 1 probably should get re-rendered now. And it took, it was taking hours per frame to render that. Hello, Woody. We could have get we could have get all of them coming out and saying hi. Yeah. But yeah, this as I said, this organically became a lighting project. So I'm just
going to slowly keep pulling out more toys.
I don't have any Toy Story stuff to add.
It is quite worrying how much Toy Story stuff I literally have around me.
Yeah, I have no toys of any kind in my house. Yeah, so can we just move to the second slide for Brad's work? Well, Matt plays with these toys.
Yeah. So I was just trying to get a quick image of the room from the first game.
Yeah, no, it was more a case of like what you don't see there. We only put 2 of the lighting setups on, but Brad did 3 full different lighting setups, different moods. So did a really good job of sort of.
I thought we'd go.
replicating
Oh
that.
yeah, he didn't have. There was no video, was there? So we can't actually show.
No,
the-
Oh no, there is
is-
a video. There is a
Oh,
video.
is there? Ah, right.
Yeah,
okay.
but I think he only shows the one lighting setup in the video, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. We'll find out in a sec.
But this is the crazy part. This is what I was getting to, though. I mean, that is all done in real time. You know, we've gone from a period where these things would take hours per frame to render to in 25 years that you can render this stuff more accurately in real time and have the subtlety and quality of the lighting and the depth of field. It's astonishing where we're at. I just, it boggles my mind where we're going to be. I'm quite looking forward to retirement. I retire in about 15 years' time, and hopefully, this in VR. But hopefully, it'll be awesome.
Wait, what's the age of retirement?
For me,
No, in general.
67.
So in 2 years' time, you're retiring.
You can go.
But yeah, it's very well lit, and
You
even
can
the
beat
camera
that,
work.
mate, that'll sound cool.
Even the camera work on this, so his little depth of field in a second on the shelf, that just works so well. It's nice.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah,
It's a really nice piece that demonstrates a lot of different skill sets, like say lighting, texturing. Actually, the little breakdown of all the models actually show that the texture work is actually surprisingly simple. It's just put together in a really efficient way that it looks good
But it would
for the final
do
product.
it any other way. If you'd gone in there and had really harsh normal maps everywhere, then
No, it wouldn't have worked.
it wouldn't have worked at all. So he had to work in that way. So I was, completely cool about that from start to finish.
My slides are broken. Yeah, just give me a second.
Okay, that's
Fill
fine.
in the time.
I'll reach and grab myself a jelly baby then. In that case, would you care for a jelly baby?
No, they're awful.
What?
Don't like
They're a
them.
food group, dude.
No, not for me. There we go. We're done. So we've got Joshua Norman next.
Tell you what I liked about Josh's attitude this year. Josh is one of the few students that really excelled, that managed to come straight. No, whoever said he's a yucky is wrong. And I also just bit its head off. So, Josh came straight from second year into final year. Didn't have that break to refine his portfolio like a lot of students did. Didn't take a year out to do additional study. Didn't take a year of placement. Came straight into final year and still dramatically improved over the last, just over a very short period of time. And again, took feedback exceptionally well. Every time he came back to me and I made a suggestion, he was like, "Yeah, I get that. I'm going to go away and do that." There are still issues with this. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's refinable. He's gone and used not Substance. He's gone and used Marvelous Designer for the clothing, and in many instances that's worked out really well. But the converse is the inverse, if you like. What he's ended up with is quite lumpy elements to the shoes, which could have been refined further once Marvelous Designer had done its thing. There's a little bit of refinement I feel that could be done to the sort of head sculpt, particularly at the sort of sides. It's not quite where I would like it to be. There's just something a bit odd about sort of the interfacing around the ear to the jawline. And his little creature is fantastic, but when you zoom right into it, there's a problem with sort of like the way that the fur's been developed. So again, that could do with this just another pass, another iteration. All of that said, I mean, it's a remarkable piece of work for somebody that's just gone straight from second year to final year and done all of this within a very short space of time.
You got to love a character with goggles. Always the best approach for me is put some goggles on the head. Love it. But yeah, just to back up what you said with Joshua, is I taught him for prototyping 2, and just seeing his attitude to learning, sort of putting himself in the deep end and growing is good. So it's nice to see.
If he gets to see this, I'd just like to commend him for always seeming to be paying attention. Particularly when you teach in a classroom environment, there's quite a lot of students that are distracted by what's on their screen. Josh, if you were talking, was always paying attention and engaging with what you said. I would like to have a room full of students like that at some point.
The more I look at this one, the more I want to see it re-rendered with a more a softer lighting setup, more Pixar style lighting setup, a better skin shader. some stubble on the hair. It's weird that the head goes from like 100% bald to actual hair. There should be some transition.
It's iMac. It's iMac. It's not been shown.
Yeah. But I think the biggest one is actually the lighting. The lighting is just too game generic, if you know what I mean. It feels like it's just a generic game engine lighting setup instead of going in and like, okay, let's put a softer light in there.
Well, it could really benefit from a diorama with appropriate lighting that actually sort of like fits with that. And again, I just go back to what he's managed to achieve in a short space of time. I am pretty sure that with all this feedback, he'll do all of that, and this will be thoroughly refined by the time it hits his portfolio.
Probably a little bit more color variation in the little creature as well. It's quite monotone across the whole.
Yeah, that again, when you zoom into the character, you really get to see sort of like why that's the case. And again, I think that's just the creature's skin essentially just needs redoing.
Yeah, I think the tail is a big focal point, and it just looks a little messy and a little too small, and needs a bit of work. And you can see the sort of sculpting in the ears. But yeah, with the lighting, I agree. It looks like it's one harsh light from the front. We need some sort of warmer lights in the top right, and then some colder lights in the bottom left. But yeah, re-rendering it, I think will do quite a good job. I think you can tell as well the jacket looks very thin, so you can tell it's been sort of done in Marvelous Designer. So adding some thickness to it, I think, because to me that looks like it's supposed to be quite a leathery sort of thickish jacket with the way it's textured and the material properties, but it just looks thin, doesn't quite sit right.
Yeah, it doesn't have that thickness that you would expect from that type of material, especially if you look at the sleeve where the sleeve transitions to the cut, is that you can see actually it's really thin.
Yeah, and it's holding its fold as well, so it should be thicker. But yeah,
but I think this is a good thing about Josh, is that he'll take that feedback and he'll probably iterate on it, ready for his portfolio.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice piece. I think.
Again, if you're watching this, Josh, we're here to help whenever you need us.
Cool. Let's go Adam next.
Yeah. This was a really nice piece of concept artwork that was always going to be difficult to get, everything to sort of tie together and sit right. I think Adam's done a very good job here. There are still, inevitably several issues as you look at it where I would like further pass and refinement, but I think ultimately it was a time constraint issue. I mean, again, Adam's to be commended for his attitude to sort of engaging with me on a sort of like one-to-one basis, but also sort of what he was doing when he was sort of in class sessions as well. But as you can see, the major things for me really are the sort of flatness of some of the textures. The metal pipes are too shiny. They seem to be sort of like off scale as well. Corners, there's sort of like something not quite right with the sort of like level of sort of ambient occlusion, so the corners don't sort of like feel like corners should. The TVs, I kept discussing this idea of screens projecting almost like a bluish tint to the light, and unfortunately he didn't tint the screen slightly blue, but he has this sort of projector light of blue that comes from nowhere where the screens are. It doesn't quite work. So those sort of things catch my eye, and I think they just need fixing. I mean, they're fairly easy wins. None of those things that I just mentioned is going to take a great deal of time to fix.
Yeah,
I think what you said is before about that iteration is that actually the stuff that Adam's doing for my module Advanced Viz, now that he's completed yours and he's moved on to mine, it's very obvious looking at what he's doing that he's learned from this process of Advanced 3D and he's putting that into Advanced Viz, because we are further ahead. We're only halfway through Advanced Viz, and we're further ahead in terms of concept, in terms of layout, than we are in this one. Yeah. We haven't got to the texturing stage yet, but the overall sort of appeal of the aesthetic, and he's gone through multiple iterations to try and get it to feel just right. So he's learning at every stage, which is really good to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's that whole thing of being happy to be taken outside your comfort zone. The things that he's learnt about substance along the way, and taking the critique of just, you chuck as Ash's pet peeve is people just chucking the sort of standard substance maps onto objects and not doing any refinement on that. And he had some of that going on that pallet truck, for instance, and I just going that doesn't feel right. It needs refining, but it still could do with another pass. There's still probably not enough dirt just in the corners and things of that nature. Just a little bit of extra refinement would help, but it's massively better than the first couple of iterations. I think that's about probably iteration number 3 for the pallet truck, and it just sits in there and feels quite natural. But it doesn't mean it couldn't be refined further.
Yeah, I mean, I like the composition. It's got some really good complex models in there, some nice baking. I think it just needs to just tweak a little bit what you said, Daryl. Like, this screen looks like it's just sort of a Google image being sort of slapped on, but it's an easy fix. Give it a shader, give it a little bit of emissive, but the main thing is, the roof and the wall is you just need to tone that normal down a little bit and tile it a little bit more, I think, and instantly that will stop pulling my eye straight to that as a focus, and I can start enjoying the rest of the scene. I think the papers as well, they're all curved upwards, which is a little weird, so that sort of draws my eyes, but other than that, it's some nice models in there. It's looking quite good. A little bit of tweaks, something quite solid, I think. But do we have a video with this?
I think there is one. Should be one with each.
Oh, this looks much better. Seeing the lighting coming through that window, the sort of particle effects really helps add to the scene.
Yeah, I think also it feels like it needs something on the left of that room as well. That big, large wall is drawing a little bit too much focus in terms. But again, this is the stuff that he's learning about composition. He's learning about how to draw the eye. Because when we see Advanced Viz in next semester, we'll do another one of these videos looking at the submissions for there. You'll probably see that his idea of composition, his understanding of it, has improved since this.
Yeah, it looks like the normals are all quite noisy, actually, so it might just be a case of just toning them all back a little bit and it helps. I think whatever this is, maybe server box, electric box, I think it needs a couple of lights on it or something to break up sort of how similar it all looks.
Yeah,
But
I
nice.
Yeah, I thought the texture on that seat, for instance, was a little bit on the noisy side. But it's just, all the suggestions and the feedback, but it is
Substance scratches.
But it still reads really well. I mean, if you've used Substance extensively and you're just looking for that, it is going to ping out at you. I think to the sort of average viewer, this is completely solid. I mean, as I said, I really like that as a model, but there's detail missing from the insides of the wheels, and it needs more dirt. And it's just little tiny things like that would make a huge difference.
Yeah, so really good overall. Just need those little tweaks, a little bit of refining. That's nice to see. Was that the complexity of light maps?
Yeah.
Not a lot of people show that off, so it's nice to see that. That's good. Cool. So we've got Jack Purdy next.
Jack. Right.
Me and Daryl were talking about Jack today, actually, how it's so interesting to sort of try and mark Jack's work and sort of view it, because Jack's, for just a bit of background narrative, is Jack's aiming to be a lighting artist. So everything he does is all about just lighting. It's not about the modeling. It's not about the texturing. It's about lighting, composition, telling narrative through just light, which is an extremely difficult thing to get right. And it's also a difficult thing to assess correctly, because you have to completely turn your mind off to, I'm not looking at textures, I'm not looking at models, I'm just looking at how this has been presented from a lighting perspective.
But that's the problem, isn't it? PBR and the way it all renders heavily relies on lighting, so we need those assets in there to judge the lighting as well. So we have to look at the assets, but not judge them sort of on their own. So yeah, always difficult one to sort of look into.
Yeah, and he was the only one in this. I mean, obviously Brad ended up doing lighting as part of his project, but Jack was the only one that just said, I want to be a lighting artist, this is what I'm going to focus on. And to his credit, I mean, the communication we had at the beginning of the module was not the best. I was confused as to what he was trying to achieve. There was definitely sort of like communication issues really early on, mainly in the first sort of week or so. But once we sort of like found a way of talking to each other, so we understood what each other was saying, it really evolved incredibly rapidly. One of the sort of best things that Jack did throughout this entire project is really engage with the community of lighting artists that are out there. In a studio setting, you know, in a fairly small studio, you might have just one lighting artist and they do all of it. I'm sure the super huge studios have several lighting artists, but this means that they're working in isolation, so they need that connection online to talk to other people that are interested in their field. So, you know, Jack was very sensible in just tapping into that really early on, and got some great input from professional lighting artists, one in particular, and really went to town on the whole project. Created, as you can see, some very interesting designs that are magical to look at.
Well, I can't see, because that's the only thing that's annoying me, is I can't appreciate anything, because every clip here is a couple of seconds, and just as I start to see and enjoy things, it sort of moves on, which is my only gripe so far.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think I like the fact that he's gone for advanced 3D. He's gone for more of a stylized sort of magical sort of look for the lightings, different sort of extremes to color, and he's continuing his studies in lighting for advanced viz, but he's going for a much more realistic approach. Still slightly stylized, still has a sort of otherworldly sort of hint to it in terms of pushing colors, but it's a lot more toned down, a lot more realistic, which is actually quite interesting to see that he's experimenting with different styles as well.
Yeah, it's notoriously hard to get lighting right, and it's nice to see how much he's progressed from the end of last year to sort of midway through this year.
It's quite interesting because he kind of made the decision he wanted to go lighting, I would probably say about 2/3, 3/4 of the way through second year, because one of his final projects for his visual design module in second year had a lighting focus. And if you just compare the stuff that he's doing now in advanced viz to the stuff he did for that, it's night and day difference. It's like you've actually got, you can tell you've gone away, you've done that research, you've been playing around with new techniques, new technologies, you've been getting that feedback, and it's demonstrating now. It's coming along nicely.
Yeah, you can tell his sort of passion and the work he's putting into it is coming through. It's good to see. Got REECE PARRINDER next.
These are some weird images to pick, actually, Daryl, because you can't see the whole image on the top.
No, I know. Well, I thought the video spoke for itself, but yeah, these definitely could have been sort of cropped better. This is my fault. I did. Yeah, skip to the end. Let's look at the video, and we can talk about that. So I was looking at sort of like the sort of build up progression, but the video just does all the work for us. What REECE has produced technically is just mind-bogglingly good. It's just what you don't see in this, because a lot of the time within the scene you're looking at big open spaces of floor and big open sort of like spaces of walls and things of that nature, but the closer you get to the individual props and objects, you realize just the attention to detail that's been put into this. The sculpting of the individual candles is wonderful. The quality of the sort of sculpture throughout is terrific, but if you were to sort of like take a really close look at the floor, it's got sort of microsurface detail and all sorts of interesting features that you can't really you're not going to get from just a cursory glance at the video. But it's all totally game ready, 100% game ready.
I think the tessellation needs toning down a little bit. And
well, I was about to say is that if you look at the very bottom of the screen, he's got his tessellation lodding down as soon as it goes off shot, but because of the size of the tessellation polygons, it's coming back into shot. So just put a buffer on your camera for tessellation.
And I tweaked the colour of it just a little bit, because you've got some really nice details with the sand sort of weaving in between them and going over the top, but the colour seems exactly the same, so it's hard to see where you put sand over.
Part of the feedback that I gave in the video I just sent was that one of my pet peeves is that the ivy's all the same shade of green. Just getting a tiny amount of variation into that would really break that up. It looks like, to my eye, it looks like that plastic ivy that you get from the garden centre to cover up your wheelie bins. It doesn't have the variation that it really needs to sort of make it feel truly organic.
Sorry, who buys plastic ivy to cover up a wheelie bin?
sad, strange individuals that have
Daryl.
Yeah, the only person there that's like,
yeah.
I do like this video because Reese is really good at presenting work, especially with like a portfolio and sort of showing breakdowns. Is that time lapse then of just showing the iterative process of build up? It was really good. Just play that again, Ash. Go back to halfway.
Yeah, I like it. And
So
also
when you-
take note first years who are just starting to get used to UE4 and scene building. This is how we block out and iterate. And very
See,
nice.
it all starts with just white boxing. It starts with simple primitives. You start blocking in some of the shapes, some of the forms.
Even there, where he moves the flags on the next iteration because it's not working. Just being able to see simple things like that through doing this process is good.
Yeah, I think we should basically just save it. No one's ever done this for my module before, but I kind of want to save this and sort of like use it as a sort of indication of what would be perfect for everybody else in the future.
Yeah, just seeing the levels of iteration, and the nice thing is that we know that a lot of the students that we've shown in this video so far are doing this level of iteration, this level of process, but Reese was just very good at demonstrating it and just putting it in a simple video GIF format.
Yeah, it just looks like he simply set up a camera in Unreal, because you can hold control and press a number and it will lock that camera into place, and whenever you press that number it will snap it straight back there. So it looks like he's just done that and taken a screenshot every time something big has sort of happened and stitched it together, and it's worked really well.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Dog rolling around on the floor.
What have we got next? I'm excited.
Got Lewis Banks.
Lewis biting off more than I can chew. Banks, yeah. It's just, I feel so sorry for him. He did choose an incredibly difficult thing to try to create just in 8 weeks. A super complicated piece of armor that had so many layers to it and so many complex sculpts. I shouldn't have allowed him to do it in retrospect. I should have been better at analysing the amount of work that was in that. But Lewis being Lewis, I thought, oh yeah, it's Lewis, he'll be totally fine. He'll write his challenge. But I think at the end of it, we were probably 80 or 90% of the way there. But it just needs additional refinement at this stage.
I like it.
I think
it's exceptional, but it could be better.
Yeah, I think it's that thing of he set himself the added challenge of learning ZBrush hard surface modeling instead of just saying, well, I know how to do it in Max, I'll just do it in Max. He said, no, I'm going to do that. I'm going to set myself that added challenge of doing it all in ZBrush, which Testament, he did a very good job, but it's not quite there. There's problems with texture resolution. The materials don't read quite right.
I was going to say
proportions are arguably a little bit weird, but it's the texture quality really that's there. Basically, you can tell that he ran out of time at the end, and I'm going to put "ran out of time" in quotes, but it's just needed that extra week or two of iteration, and hopefully Lewis will go back to this one after Christmas. He'll say, okay, bit of retrospect. Let's go back. Let's just finish it off. Give it the treatment that it deserves for a portfolio piece.
I don't think you saw this, Ash, but earlier today I was showing Matt the thread that we have on Teams chat, sort of the level of iteration that we've gone through trying to refine this. But it's a difficult thing to get absolutely perfect. And I do think that if Liz goes back to this, sort of once he's got some breathing space, once the academic year is over, an extra week or so polishing this is going to pay massive dividends.
Yeah, I mean, first thing that I noticed, and Matt said it, is that textile density is a little bit wrong in places, but we've got some nice elements coming in, so like the wear and tear on using the cavity maps and stuff, but it just needs that tweaking to the texture. I think a little bit of polish in his hard surface.
Yeah. And we were talking about this earlier, that the material didn't quite come through. So in the concept, it's quite a dark pewter, and it's not quite come through fully. So again, another little tweak, not only to the texture work, but to the shader of that material as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it just pay a lot. And then also pose him. He looks really weird, and when he's in this sort of like A pose, very static. He's a very powerful looking guy in this sort of daunting armor, and yet he's got "Hello, I'm in the mood" sort of look and feel to him.
Yeah.
That's my approach to any Dark Souls games. Hello, I'm going to play this, and then I just get annihilated. But there's some good work in it. You can see the softness on the ZBrush bits, but
no, there's an indication that you can do this. That's what we've got. You know, I don't have any doubts that he's capable of actually finishing this piece of work. It is currently in an unfinished state, though. But like I said, he knows already. I've already said to him, if he needs any help at the back end of the year, I'm more than willing to provide it. I'm sure Matt would be too. So, you know, he can bounce off the two of us and get as much feedback as he needs to get this to a, you know, properly portfolio ready standard.
But this is what we like to see. We like to see students challenging themselves in final year and doing stuff that's a little bit out of their comfort zone.
Yeah. Well, actually, on that note, David Shields, we were about to say exactly that. He came into the module and said, I really want to push myself to do something polished and finished. And I think, you know, for the most part, he's more or less achieved that. There's some material issues. There's issues with, you can't really tell in this image, but there's interfacing where the hair cards go into the scalp. They don't quite blend correctly. They're not angled. There's not enough polygons in them either to sort of angle them into place. But from where he was, as far as, you know, character art's concerned, sort of, you know, just a few weeks ago, he's come on absolutely leaps and bounds and learnt a tremendous amount. You know, again, it's kind of a pose, lacks fluidity and posing. So there's work
actually, looking back at Lauren and how she went and did lots of different poses, the little dioramas to sort of bring out that personality.
Yeah,
I think this is crying out for that, isn't it?
It is.
So I think David's in a very similar position to Lewis, where you're going, you're just a few weeks shy of having
lost Matt's mic. We've lost your mic, mate.
No, I can hear it.
Oh, what's going on? Is that my audio that's gone there?
I should be still coming through, I think.
Yeah, I can hear you on Twitch as well. So
yeah, coming through on the Twitch. So I was just saying is that David's in a very similar position to Lewis, is that it's just short, another week, another 2 weeks of development iteration to get this to a good standard. It's got a really nice foundation, but it's not. It's essentially, as you said with Lewis, it's an unfinished piece right now in terms of portfolio, but it's a good demonstration of where he currently sits skill set wise.
Yeah, I think a lot of the material properties are wrong, which is sort of ruining the overall render. So having those extra weeks and just making those fabrics and skin looking correct, yeah, should give it to sort of a nice direction of being finished. Any look, Daryl? You can't even hear me now.
No.
Good.
Well, we'll carry on, and hopefully he'll chime in.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm having audio problems. Just let me try and fix
Well,
them.
while you try and spit this out, I'll just talk about Victoria's. This is one of those little pieces that on the surface of it, you go, okay, well, it has quite a few issues with it in terms of the sort of quality of the final products, but it is a cute little design that comes through as you could see this in a certain type of game, a certain caliber of game. I think the video I think it is there a video for this one?
Yes, yeah. See, yeah, I like it. I think the hands, because they're in the center, I go look at them and I think they're the thing that needs the most work. But the texture quality and the hand painted style, I love it.
Yeah. I like the bag. The bag looks really nice. The little stitching. It's got this very, very cutesy hand drawn sort of affair to it. I think I think this bundle of them that we've got next to each other, they all sit in that sort of that area of needs more iteration, needs more development. For a 7-8 week project, it's got the building blocks of a great piece, but it's falling short of it at the moment, especially things like the eyes are just textured on. They don't have different materials. The face looks very flat. The hair doesn't have any depth to it. It's very sort of thing, but you can't deny that, as in the chat saying it's so cute, it has a appeal to it in the design. And I think just the the execution needs a little bit more improvement.
Yeah, I can hear you again now. But what had happened was my mic controller had managed to dial itself down somehow.
Have you changed which mic you're using? You sound awful.
No, sorry, not the mic. Sorry, the headset.
Your sound quality is tanked.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Have I changed the mic setting? Give me a second.
But just like what you're saying, Matt, just little unfinished bits which take away from the nice scene. So this strap with sort of the stretch polygon here, and it's not connected to the gun.
So like if you just look at the ground plane, for instance, just the quality of the color variance in the ground, but then we've got just these generic pop-up grass planes, which kind of just then detracts from
there's a lot of that two-dimensional quality to the fence, the hat. There's quite a lot of the skirt itself feels very two-dimensional. Whereas a lot of it is properly fleshed out and it's three-dimensional. With like the sort of like spikes on top of the gun could easily have been just as two-dimensional as that, but aren't.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a mishmash. And I think for me the thing that really needs sort of refinement is the hair. We went through many iterations to get to a solid sort of point where the hair was nicely sculpted, and then that's been lost in the final render. The other sort of element is that it's always a bit of a pet peeve of mine, regardless of the character, is just the sort of bunching of fingers when you've got a fingers.
Oh, that's what Ash was saying. That
you've already said that, have you? Yeah. Okay. Like I said, my audio wasn't working, so
yeah. But like we say, I think it's a great start, and it's a showcase of, as we've said with a few of them, is that a couple more extra weeks of iteration and development could turn this into a nice little portfolio piece that demonstrates a nice skill set. And actually, the more you're looking at, just like the hard edge of the ground plane is just drawing eye and focus.
Yeah, I do like these though, and the little tags. So there's lots of sort of care and attention that's been put into it. But I think just slightly unfinished. But the texture and quality and style, like the hand paintedness, it's beautiful.
Yeah, there's some really nice elements there.
Yeah. Oh, we also got Oliver now. I don't think I saw this one when we were prepping.
No, so Oliver's an interesting one. I thought he's shocked me over the last year or so, because going through first year and second year, I'm gonna share Oliver's nickname that we all called him. He had the nickname of Tank Boy, because all he ever did was model tanks. Over and over again. Every assignment was a tank. Every assignment had a tank in it. And that's what he said he wanted to be. He wanted to go and work for World of Tanks, making tanks. And we're like, okay, sure enough, let's move towards that. But then over the last year or so, he's changed his mind. And now he's gone, no, actually, I'm enjoying environment work more and more, especially the hand-painted sort of stylized stuff. So he's made this one. And for mine, he's making a Sea of Thieves style one, which is looking really good at the moment. So it's really good to see a student actually come in with a mindset of one thing, but through trial, iteration, through experimentation, through just exposing himself to more things, has actually realized that he enjoys more than just tanks.
It's good, and he's used trim sheets and lots of technical stuff going in.
Yeah, and surprisingly how few actual assets there are in this. But one of the things that really pleased me was that face, which we just saw.
It looks like Nicolas Cage from here.
But they were really distracting for weeks at a time, because you look at faces, you can't help yourself. And for weeks and weeks of development on this, he got just the worst sculpted face I'd ever seen. It was just a blob, a really distracting blob. And I was trying, I almost sort of stick two fingers over the screen to ignore it. But the final sculpt has really come together. And it's the same thing with material properties. I think there are still things that he could do, things that are in the original concept that he hasn't brought out of it. Like, for instance, that some of those, if you look over to the blocks to the far side, they're floating. And in the concept, they've got that blue infused energy that those floating blocks inside have got. But he chose, for whatever reason, not to incorporate that. So we've got these weird floating blocks. There's no sensation that they should be floating. It makes no visual sense, but yet they are. So just incorporating that as an emissive material would make all the difference, I feel.
I like this, but now I've noticed it, the more I look at it, it looks unfinished compared to everything else. It looks quite flat, and then So that's just drawn my eye, but I think it's quite a nice bit of attention to detail. I think it needs something else. And same with the Ivy, I think you said it before, is it's quite sort of the colour range in it is quite flat. It's all sort of one together. So it might be worth in Unreal, you know, you don't have to redo it all, but just pan over a mix map on it. Give it some sort of reds in there, some yellows.
Yeah.
I think it'll look quite nice.
Subtle, but it'll look very different.
Yeah.
I think it's again. This I think this is the environmental version of the characters that we've had over the last couple. Is that in that 7-8 weeks that they've had, they've got to a great point that just need that extra little push, that extra little level of iteration, just to, like you say, go in, add those magical elements, add some color variation, finish up some of the ropier texture work, maybe even put a sort of gradient map over the whole thing, and actually add some color variations to the entire scene through the fog volumes, through the color volumes. Do a ramp on some of the textures to give some gradients from the bottom to the top, so they change color. I think just some simple things like that could really push this to the next level.
Yeah, easy to do as well, just a world aligned texture. But what I do like about this is I think a lot of people would have just, you know, textured in those bricks, and we've actually got some geometry definition, and even in here as well. So it's nice to see that. It sort of adds to the sort of visual interest in the shape.
Yeah, totally. But simultaneously, that's not eating up a lot of polygons to do that. It's, you know, it's all very effective what he's done, marrying the textures to the topology.
That is Nicolas Cage. I'm convinced. Right.
Ollie was a bit of a revelation this year. I hadn't really seen his artwork since second year, and let's just be blunt and say that I thought that Ollie's work in second year needed a little bit of refinement.
I think everybody knows that all Ollie's characters looked the same. They all had the same face, regardless of gender or species. So it was one of those things that it was just a running joke of, right, we just need to work on the face a little bit more.
I think he still does. I mean, if I had one criticism of this finished character, it is that the face could do with another refinement pass. The eyes are a little bit starey. The facial expression is quite neutral and bland. I think beyond that, she's still got man hands. We've discussed that, ad nauseum over the last few weeks, but it's eminently fixable. You know, that you could probably do that in an afternoon, all of that fix. But the costume is brilliant.
I just love the complexity of the materials. The fact that you can read the difference between the sort of the furry lining and then the sort of pleather effect edging to it, and it all reads correct. And actually, the complexity of the hair, freaking afro hair, is hard to do, and yet he's nailed it
completely. Yeah, absolutely superb hair.
And we've posed it as well, so it's good to see.
And a sort of base, utilizing mega scans, so really high quality base. It's great. I keep looking at it and going, I still tweak the ankles. I still think those boots look ridiculously uncomfortable. Look like I've got some sort of snow boots that slide around on my feet that make my ankles chafe, and I think they do the same thing.
You've never been skiing or snowboarding, then, have you? Because they are that's a pair of snowboarding boots right there.
I think the legs are quite.
Ankles.
Always wanted to. Unfortunately, I've got a missus with a very bad back, so we can't do it.
You can still go.
Yeah, it's not the same though, is it, going on holiday on your own? I don't mind doing most things on my own, but that's kind of, I draw a line at going on a holiday specifically to do something like that.
I was just looking at the more you look at it, the more you see the little strap and the buckle from the knee to the belt, and the mechanism to hold the grenades in place or whatever they are, the little canisters, the little buttons on the jacket. There's just loads of really
there
nice
is. I mean, it'll come as no surprise that this is the piece of work from character perspective got that highest grade in the module. There is, as I've said, there's a little bit of refinement still to do, but it is minor.
I think the legs,
even the background. Look at the difference on the background as well. Just the subtle lighting on the subtle shading on the background. Most of these, when we've got them, they're just against grey. This is not just against. This has got nice color contrast, complementary colors complementary colors that are actually drawn from the foreground image. So we've got the greens and the oranges reflected in the background as well. It's just beautiful.
I saw the sketchbook for this as well. Really good sketchbook, I think. clearly outlines like the whole
And
process.
Ollie, if you are watching this, I'd like the feet to anchor onto the floor slightly better. I do feel she's a bit floaty, but yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a really good example of, like, it doesn't matter what level you are, there's always room for more iteration, more refinement.
Yeah.
So I think we can easily just go back to this when we're putting our portfolio together and just do a few little tweaks here and there.
I think really good texturing work. Yeah,
Ooh,
nice.
Oh, this is gonna be a long one. What are we on next?
I said that when we finished what's on the box. I was like, that's probably a very good thing. So hello, blue screen. Was that intentional?
Sorry, no. It's just the last one actually. So.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good timing. So yeah, I bet save one of the best till last, because Andy again was a total revelation for me. I hadn't taught Andy since first year. I had no idea what he was capable of, and this is just terrific.
Just to chip in again, another case of so much progress since the end of second year, and that's because of the effort and stuff that they've put in.
Yeah, I see again. I didn't even see. I don't know what the starting point from the end of second year was. So I've got to kind of go back an entire year prior to that. So this was just mesmerizing to see, and the pace that he went at, just the amount of work that he was doing week in, week out. Not only was he producing terrific models using complex systems and learning new things. The sort of learning trim sheet workflow, sort of more or less from scratch. But then sort of, for every single element that needed additional work, you'd say, oh, you need to do this on this particular thing. A week later, there it would be iterated and developed, to a really high standard. The lighting, he listened to my crit on the lighting. I think there was a stage where there's a little bit of sort of pushback that there was, discussion on lighting, and he was happier than I was with the overall quality of the lighting. But it, fair play to him. He absolutely listened. And a week later, there was a massive change in the quality and the precision of the lighting. I think there's still issues that I would like to see resolved, like the sandbags just seem a little bit unfinished and a bit sort of rigid. There is probably a little bit too much sort of specular highlight in the floor on the pathway, but beyond that, everything else is cock on. It's just so good.
Just to get my nitpicking in there straight away, for the render, let's go back to the other slide. Nice compositional piece, but he's used sort of rules of thirds here, and on his rule of third, he's got this, which is where your eye's going to land here or over here. This looks. Yeah, if my eye goes there first because of the composition, I want to see something a little bit more interesting here, or just fix it. I think that it looks like it's just been an afterthought.
It looks like it's a gateway that you should be looking through to something more interesting, like a focal point, and it doesn't have that this moment. I know what you mean.
Maybe add some depth of field in there.
Until you said that, I hadn't really spotted it, because I'd always taken time to look at the other side and look towards that door and wonder what is through that door, and thinking that was the focal point. But you are right.
But that's it. You can carry on now.
No, that's fine. So I've said all I need to say, really. I just love it.
I think the video is too quite.
Yeah,
it's slow paced and repeating rocks
repeating rocks there.
Like I said, I have more of an issue with the sandbag and that reflection in the. I don't know what's even really causing that. It looks almost like there's water pouring down the middle of it.
There's some nice materials in there though, which is good to see. Like the material. PBR material breakdown is reading correct, like the stone reads the stone, the wood reads the wood, which is fundamental in getting these things to look right. And
yeah, they're the things that just don't quite look right and pull my eye away from.
Yeah,
it's really nice here.
Yes, it is. It's beautiful. I would say if you're going to add to that, add the banners, the flag, whatever they are, the sort of cloths that are hung across the street. I still think they could do with another refinement pass. But yes, that entire part over there, which is where my eye is always drawn when I look at it, is terrific.
Yeah, I go there first, but then my eye goes, oh. just
magic.
Let my eye go, oh. Yeah, so really nice overall, just nitpicking.
Cool. So did you say that was the last one that we have on here?
It is.
It is. All right. So that's just a little
That's a
sample.
marathon, wasn't it?
That is a long session, hour and a half, but it's just a sample of what's being made in Advanced 3D, and those students are now going on to Advanced Viz. So we'll have another one of these videos looking at the work there that's being produced. And actually, we're getting a whole host of different stuff coming to Advanced Viz because the assignment's slightly different, the focus is different, but we're getting some really interesting sort of experimentations from different disciplines, because most of those, when we flick through them, they're either 3D environmental or 3D character, whereas we've got a mix of a couple of different disciplines in the other module. So I'm excited to see what they take from this module into the next, and then into semester 2 in their dissertation and team projects. I think we should have an exceptional year this year of awesome games.
Yeah.
Do you have any
showcase.
designers going into visual design?
We have a few. Well, we've got a whole host. The visual design module gets taken by artists, designers. We've got Aaron, who you can only describe as a tech artist. So he's doing some really cool, interesting stuff with technology and applying that to different art techniques. So I'm excited to showcase what they produce.
Yeah, I think having the range, so Advanced 3D, mostly about 3D and environments, but Viz, even second year, it's more tailored towards what the sort of student wants to do. So having those tech artists work we can show, designers, yeah, it should be quite an interesting one to see a nice range of different bits. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'd just like to take this last final opportunity, if there are any. If it's sort of, I haven't got that many viewers left, but they maybe will catch up on YouTube. But it's only had people that took Advanced 3D
Slowly
left.
dropping.
Yeah, terrific work, guys. Well done.
Yeah, some nice work there. Good stuff.
And it's a good. So if you bring that slide back up, Ash, it's a good for those that are watching it on YouTube. Is anyone that's looking at our YouTube channel from a admissions point of view, they're considering coming on the course, you can see what our students are producing now. At the beginning, we're only like I say, 8 weeks in, and we're getting this level of work into final year. You can find more information on YouTube. I'm going to start posting some of the stuff that we've been seeing here on Instagram. I'll let it slide for quite a bit. I've been a bit preoccupied, but it's on my plan to start posting more.
Well, now you've got
progress work.
PlayStation. Is that going to slide again?
No, not. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Hopefully, it's the last one before Christmas, so we'll have a little bit of a fun one, a little bit more festive sort of activities. Duke's trying to think of some kind of way of getting the chat involved in some kind of game as well. So join us for that one, just as a little end to the year.
Right.
Yeah. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.